So here we are. It is Sunday, October 1st, 2023. As most of you already know, the Senate passed that bill last night to extend the government shutdown another 45 days. Now, the bill authorizes the funding 45 days. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said this will give Congress more time to get their work done. My question to Kevin McCarthy is, what have you guys been doing for the past year? To me, this is just kicking the can down the road even further. And at the end of the day, the government is broke. It is broke. So they can extend it 45 days, but when are we going to actually deal with this? Are we going to extend it again 45 days from now? When are we finally going to deal with this? And when are we going to finally admit that we are broke? Newsflash. Things are not going to get better. They're going to continue to try to kick the can down the road. They're going to continue to print money. They're going to continue not to be truthful with people while they're watching their football games today. And I guess most people want to continue to live in Fantasyland. But the U.S. government, folks, is broke. And it doesn't really matter what happens in 45 days. The answer is probably going to be print more money, raise debt ceilings, do whatever we have to do. But we're never going to stop spending. We're never going to stop printing. And that's why I believe we're going to see a massive collapse in the financial system and eventually the US dollar. We're going to see hyperinflation. We're going to see big problems with our currency. We're going to see big problems with inflation. We're going to live in a time where it's very, very possible we're going to see hyperinflation in America, and we're going to see the US dollar turn into a third world currency. It's very, very possible. And that's why I make these videos. That's why I've been warning people for years to prepare. People didn't think anything bad was going to happen because things just didn't collapse overnight. They didn't understand that this is a very slow process, death by 1,000 cuts. And just because things are happening in slow motion doesn't mean that they're not happening. They're happening, but they're beginning to accelerate. And for the people who have not been preparing, who wanted to live in Fantasyland, who didn't want to deal with reality, they're facing huge trouble right now. And it's going to get much worse. There was an article I was reading earlier today from the burningplatform.com, trigger for the next financial implosion. It says here, U.S. banks are facing some $600 billion of unrealized losses, roughly 35% of total banking capital. The U.S. banking system, the global banking system, it's all essentially bankrupt, ladies and gentlemen, just like the U.S. government. People still just look at things and believe the illusion. And again, I'm flipping through the channels today, and I came across a football game. I believe it was a Raiders Chargers game. And, you know, just looking at all the people in the stands paying $10, you know, for a hot dog, and probably $12 for a beer, and $100 for a ticket, and $25, $50 for parking. And I'm thinking, how many of the people in those stands used a credit card today just for the entertainment, this temporary entertainment that they're going to get? How many of them actually have assets put away? How many of them actually have a net worth? How many of them actually have an emergency fund? Probably not many. Those living in a fantasy world, it says, of no consequences, aren't worried because these banks don't have to realize these losses until they sell. So just remember, they can extend and pretend as long as they want, but remember what happened in 2008. This extend and pretend, this living in Fantasyland. You had topless dancers, you had pool cleaners, you had landscapers, you had people making minimum wage living in $500,000 houses. And everything was fine until they couldn't make the payments on those $500,000 homes. And then all hell broke loose. They know what's coming. Yet most people are in Fantasyland. This is not going to be resolved peacefully, it says, or by kicking the can down the road once again. We're about to reap what Washington and Wall Street had sown since 2008. It's a very, very good point, very good article. If you get a moment, check it out. But think about how many people in Wall Street, how many of the ultra rich are out of these markets right now. They know what's about to happen. Is it 6 days away, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years? Nobody knows. But there are people on the inside that know something because they're completely out of these markets. And they're going to let the suckers continue to buy into them, just like the suckers who are buying homes right now. And look, I don't want to see people get wiped out. I don't want to see people lose everything. Be extremely cautious with these big purchase items. Be extremely cautious if you're playing these markets right now. They're going to pull the rug out, ladies and gentlemen. The big boys, the big players, the insiders, they're going to be long gone. While the average everyday investor got duped and bamboozled into these markets because they keep watching people in $2,000 suits on the television, remind them that everything's okay. Consumers strong, markets are fine, they're going to go up. They always go up. Real estate never goes down, it always goes up. The stock market always goes up. So you're a fool if you don't invest in these asset classes. Be careful. Student loan bills resume for 40 million Americans. How it could shake the economy. This on CNBC today. Now remember, the student loan pause ends today. Retailers and lenders are already bracing for a hit. I believe that we're going to begin to see the economy really struggle now in this last quarter of the year, heading into 2024. When you subtract $15.8 billion a month of this student loan repayment, not going back into the economy, not going back into retail, it's going to be a huge headwind for the U.S. economy. These 40 million people are going to get their first bills during a very, very volatile period. Think about where we're at right now. Gas prices out here, $6, $7, $8 even in some parts of California. Inflation at a near all-time high. We have this looming government shutdown. We have strikes all over the country. We have no idea what's going on politically with this country at this moment. We're on the verge of a housing collapse. We're now getting very deep into a commercial real estate collapse. You can go on and on and on. On top of all the debt that we've accumulated, we have a $2 trillion deficit. People are really going to have to deal with some very difficult times now. On average, this is going to be $500 a month on average. That's the average payment that many of these people are going to have to pay back. Some people, their payment's going to be much more. It's going to be over $1,000 a month. And it's going to take a huge toll on their lifestyle, their standard of living, and just how they live day to day. It says here, 70% of these people plan to postpone big ticket purchases. Well, of course, because they're not going to have the money to buy a big ticket purchase. Many plan to cut back on their spending on clothing, food, and travel. They should have done this 3.5 years ago and maybe started paying their debt down instead of waiting till now. And doing so, this would be the worst possible time to be holding debt because we are entering a depression, ladies and gentlemen. And these people now, after 3.5 years, are going to have to start paying their debt back. The worst possible time. Wouldn't it have been better if you just took the last 3.5 years and just worked and paid this debt off and been debt-free or mostly debt-free today? When you're having to pay the most for gas and inflation and living expenses and just day-to-day essentials just going through the roof, wouldn't this be the time that you would want your debts under control or have no debt at all or very minimal debt? But now these people are in for a very, very rude awakening. The piper must be paid, ladies and gentlemen, and the piper is going to get paid. Now, I believe that the next Fed meeting, which will be November, I believe we will get a rate hike, at least 25 basis points. And we're going to see interest rates go up. We're going to see mortgage rates go up. And this is going to put more pressure on credit card debt, servicing all types of debt, personal loans, student loan debt, auto loans, all of it. It's going to get much more difficult, ladies and gentlemen. Going to the grocery store, going to the gas pump, servicing debt. It's all going to get very, very difficult. The Daily Mail. Wells Fargo executive Greg Beckett jumped to his death from Bank's Delaware offices as family says he'd been stressed about work and taking meetings as late as 11 p.m. 46-year-old Greg Beckett jumped from a 14-story building, the 14th floor of the Wells Fargo headquarters in Delaware, and they blame it on his long hours, his late night meetings, his long days, and all this stress. Now, who knows if there's more to this story or if he was that stressed out, but we're going to see a lot more of this, not just in the banking industry, but across all sectors. People are getting stressed out. Now, what's interesting is no senior executives from Wells Fargo attended his memorial service. That's very interesting. But we're going to see more of this because people are getting stressed out. And the more that they get stressed, the more they turn to drugs and alcohol and suicide, domestic abuse, divorce, all these things that come with economic stress. Let me remind all of you that nothing is worth taking your own life. We're going to get through this. Some people just cannot deal with the stress. Maybe they know even more on the inside of what's coming, but the answer is not taking your own life. So if you're under this kind of stress, if you're having these kind of thoughts, reach out to a good church, reach out to one of these suicide hotlines, reach out to family members, get some help. Nothing is worth taking your life. We are going to get through this. But what a terrible thing to do, especially if you have a family, especially if you have kids. I mean, there's just huge repercussions here, taking your life and the devastation it's going to do to the rest of your family. It's not worth it. There is nothing worth taking your own life. This is the time where people are really going to have to get strong. We're going to go through some very, very difficult, rough times. There's going to be opportunity. There's going to be areas of this economy where people lose everything. This is why it's imperative that you're mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially getting stronger every day. It's not this collapse. Many people believe it's just going to be a financial collapse. Everybody talks about the financial collapse. All these people are going to lose their houses and the toys, and then this group of people here are going to buy it all up, and then everything's going to be fine, and we're going to move on. You have to be very, very cautious of what is coming socially. We are going to see a major breakdown in society because of this. And people are ignoring that. People are just thinking this is financial. This is way beyond financial. This is very spiritual. It's very social. And I want everybody to be preparing financially because there is going to be opportunity coming. But if you cannot protect yourself, if you cannot protect your assets, if you cannot protect your own house, you're not going to be able to take advantage of any opportunity. You've got to be able to protect your own house, your own household, your own assets, your own life before you even think about taking advantage of opportunities. People will go, well, I can't wait till gold goes to $10,000 an ounce. Let me remind all of you, if gold hits $10,000 an ounce, which it is very possible we're heading in that direction, it could go way beyond that. But let's just say it goes to $5,000 an ounce. You're not going to feel safe opening your front door, okay? You're going to be living in a much different world. Are things going to be on sale? Are homes going to be on sale and all the toys? Yes. Gold's $5,000 an ounce, $10,000 an ounce. Is it very possible? Yes. You're living in a whole different world, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if you've been watching some of the news lately, have you seen what is going on? If you've been driving and you just see the road rage that is taking place all over America, if you see how short-tempered and triggered people are, and teenagers at school going fisticuffs and knocking out their teachers, take it as a warning to what you're going to be dealing with. Yes, opportunities are coming. But before you think about opportunities, you better think about how you're going to protect yourself, your assets, and your own homes. Again, going back to this article, nothing's worth taking your life. Get help. There's a lot of places out there. There's 800 numbers. You can Google places, find a good church, talk to your family, talk to friends. Nothing's worth taking your life. This is the time where we must be getting tougher. We must be getting tougher, ladies and gentlemen, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Don't quit. Don't give up. We're going to get through this. But if you're weak-minded, if you're weak spiritually, you're opening the door to addictions, drugs, alcohol, domestic abuse, suicide, things like that. Don't allow that door to open. Stay strong. Stay on path. Here's another article today. Harrowing moment. Thieves attack innocent man from behind, beating him to the ground to steal his backpack as he screams for them to get off of him. This happened last week in Chicago. You can Google it. I've watched this video 3 or 4 times. And this gentleman is just walking through a neighborhood, and 2 gentlemen walk up behind him, come up behind him pretty quickly, and they knock him down. And once he's on the ground, they go for the backpack. And first off, this is just horrible, okay? This is just horrible to watch. An innocent young man walking down the street with a backpack on and getting assaulted, and then having his backpack ripped from him, taken after he receives a severe beating. I bring this up because what did he do? What did he do to defend himself? Nothing. First off, he was not even aware of these people running up from behind on him. So they got the jump on him, got him to the ground, and at this point, all he could do was scream and yell, and that was it. Now, I know a lot of people out there will sit here and go, well, I would do this, I would do that, or I would just go absolutely crazy. And when you say you would go absolutely crazy, what does that mean? What does going absolutely crazy mean? Some people would sit here and say, I would just run. Well, how can you run when your back is on the ground now and 2 people are on top of you striking? What would you do? I think most people, what they would do is resort to their training. And what is their training? They have none. So they would do what this gentleman did. They would scream, they would yell, they would cry, and that's all they could do because they have no training. And so, again, I make these videos, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just financial. It's not about just putting assets away. It's not about just situational awareness, which is really, really important. It's about a lot of things. But when you watch this video, please Google it, you learn things. You know, if this guy had 6 months of jiu-jitsu experience, he probably would still have his backpack right now. Now, you could say if he was, if he was a concealed carrier, he would definitely have his backpack right now. So there's things that everybody could be doing. But let's just say not everybody has a concealed permit. But at least if he could protect himself on his back, which jiu-jitsu is very good for, he could have bought more time, maybe got a hold of an ankle, maybe took one of them down. There's a lot of things he could have done other than just screaming and crying and swearing that his backpack is about to be taken. You're going to resort back to your training. And if you have no training, you're resorting back to nothing. You have nothing. You're going to yell, scream, cry. Many people are going to wet their pants. That's it. So again, it's imperative that we're getting stronger, that we're working on our combative skills. Very, very important. And if you do carry Grappling is so important for anybody that carries. It is extremely important because, again, if somebody gets on top of you, somebody grabs you, somebody goes for that tool, if you don't have grappling skills, that tool is going to be grabbed and used against you. So I thought this was an interesting video, and you got to get some training, ladies and gentlemen. It's so important. And if you don't do it for you, get your kids some training. Make sure that your kids have some combative training, that if they have to get offensive or defensive, they can do that. This is so, so important. Here's one from the New York Post, and I'll end with this one. Chicago housing hundreds of people at O'Hare Airport raising public health concerns. Now, these people are coming from all over the world. And growing up in Chicago and flying out of O'Hare Airport numerous times and flying into it numerous times, 500 people sleeping on cardboard boxes at O'Hare Airport inside, okay, inside the airport, using the public restrooms on top of it. I just cannot even believe it. Now, they say from there, they just rotate people. More people come in, so they have to pull some of the people out of O'Hare. Where do they go? They take them to the police stations, and they sleep in the police stations or out front of the police stations. You can YouTube this, Google it. It's absolute insanity watching this. To see a Chicago police station with tents all over out front, people sleeping inside of the police station. I can't even imagine what goes through the minds of Chicago PD and these officers. It's mind-blowing. But O'Hare Airport housing 500 people sleeping on cardboard boxes inside the airport, I'm completely blown away. Now, this is not a political statement. This is just reality. This is just public health, and this is just not normal. Is this safe? Is this normal to you? I don't get it. I really, really don't. It's just shocking to see what is happening. And again, living and growing up in Chicago, never saw anything like this. And now people sleeping in police stations and airports, and it's shocking. But look, I'm here in California, and there's tents everywhere. There's people sleeping in their cars everywhere, in vans and RVs, and it's a complete disaster, and it's going to get worse. So, you know, you can sit on the couch and watch football today. God bless you. I'm not knocking anybody or judging anybody watching a football game, but this system, this country is burning down right before our very eyes while people want to live in Fantasyland and watch football all day. And it's really, really sad. And these will be the people, mark my words today, you already know this, but these are going to be the people knocking on your door for help, for you to keep them safe, for you to protect them, for you to feed them, for you to give them water, to house. They're going to need a place to sleep when they lose their homes. These are going to be the people, some of the friends that you have, relatives, co-workers. These are the people who are going to be begging you for a meal, for a place to sleep, for protection, etc. Be careful, ladies and gentlemen, who you let in your house. Be careful when you're giving people your food, your calories, because they're going to tell everybody else. These people become liabilities, so be very, very careful. But we're going to really cross some roads here and really have to make some very, very serious decisions here very, very soon. Many of you already have. Many people have made some very, very serious decisions right now. Many people have cut things out of their lives. Many people have canceled the vacations. Many people maybe didn't buy the SUV this year. Many people are now making big decisions, and these are going to affect the way you live now for the next couple years. Some people are making the wrong decisions. They're out buying homes. They're living beyond their means. They're driving cars they can't afford. They're wearing clothes they can't afford. They're wearing watches they can't afford. These will be the people knocking at your door, because when the depression hits, when everything, hits the fan, nobody's going to care about what kind of car you drive, the emblem on that car. Nobody cares what kind of watch you're wearing. Nobody's going to care. The only thing I would care about is, what are you bringing to the table? What kind of skills do you have? Do you have enough food and water to take care of yourself? What do you offer? What do you bring to the table? I can't afford to feed people, but we've got to really have a circle of friends now. We've got to surround ourselves with people who have the food, the water, who have the skills, who know how to do things, people who are awake, people who are asking questions, people who are walking closer to God, people who are going to be beneficial to you and you beneficial to them. These are the types of people we need to be surrounding ourselves with, not from the bloodsuckers, not from people who are just going to, want something from you. Those people will make sure that you are victims of this collapse. Be very, very cautious of people like that. Be around people who are walking the walk right now. People who have skills, know how to do things. Have a good weekend, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to leave it there. Comment down below. Please like, share, and subscribe. And let me know. Let me know your thoughts on all this. This will be a very interesting week. I'm sure maybe the markets are going to love that this government shutdown got extended 45 days. I'm sure that they'll use that for good news. But at the end of the day, the government is broke. People are hanging on by a thread now. And the cost of debt is going to go through the roof as it has begun. Stay safe. God bless.